Captivating Mister, Chapter 1. I'm dying, Rosalie. Those words, pensively spoken, made Rosalie's gaze snap up from the book in her lap. Her aunt, sitting in a bath chair in the sunlight, looked paler than usual. Her eyes were sunken, her dark hair had gone rapidly gray, and no doctor had been foolish enough to give her good news. Nevertheless, Rosalie replied, "Not so soon, I think." "No, soon," her aunt corrected her. "I feel it within me, truly. There's no denying it. I believe one knows when one's end is near, and mine, sad to say, is nearly here." Rosalie's heart sank at her aunt's words, and for a moment she said nothing. She stared at the words on the page, her eyes blurring with tears. She didn't want to face the inevitable, even though her aunt had accepted it long ago. Their time together would soon come to an end. "I want to say, first of all, that I'm so very grateful to you, dear," said Elizabeth, who was also Lady Greydown. "Had you not been there for me after Aunt Henry's passing, I fear I might have perished from my own grief. Your companionship has been so dear to me, so invaluable. I want to make that abundantly clear." Rosalie closed her book and wiped her eye. Her aunt's ominous words and somber tone made her worry more than ever. She feared, at that moment, her dear Aunt Elizabeth would perish then and there. Lady Greydown's gaze drifted toward the garden beyond the window. The autumn light lay gently across the lawn, illuminating the fallen leaves. "It's strange, is it not?" she murmured. "How quickly the years pass once one begins to count them backward instead of forward." Rosalie rose to adjust her aunt's shawl, though it hardly needed adjusting. "You mustn't speak so. There's still much left for you to do, Aunt." "Goodness, girl, I do love you, truly, but your optimism, which hovers close to naivete, will be your undoing," her aunt said. "And mine. You know I ache at the thought of leaving you behind. You remind me of Henry, in a sense." "Always the optimist, that fool," her aunt interrupted, a faint smile on her lips. "Even when his lungs began to fail him, he insisted he would recover simply because he wished to see the lilacs bloom again." "He did love you dearly," Rosalie said. "As I did him," Elizabeth replied, her voice dropping lower. "For all his flaws, he gave me a good life. But when he was gone—" She trailed off and squinted toward the garden. After a moment, she looked back at Rosalie with renewed clarity. A restlessness stirred in her. "There is another matter I must settle before I pass. It is a deep longing in my heart, one I fear I can no longer deny. I must see him." Rosalie's eyes went wide. She knew her aunt's desire before she said another word. "Do you mean—" "Edgar." Lady Greydown nodded and sighed. "Edgar Summerfield. I simply must see him before my time is over." Rosalie went silent and traced her book's spine with restless fingers. She had, of course, heard the stories many times. 30 years ago, before Elizabeth became Lady Greydown, she had been forced to choose between two suitors. Viscount Greydown, an older man with a sizable fortune, and Edgar Summerfield, a simple steward. "It haunts me to this day," said Lady Greydown. "He haunts me. I still see his gentle face in my dreams. I remember the words of that humble man, his intelligence and humour. As much as I loved Henry, I do still wonder if that wasn't the greatest mistake of my life." Lady Greydown gave a soft, rueful laugh. "I have kept his letters, you know. Not all. I burned a few to help me forget, but I could not bring myself to destroy them all. Every year or two, another letter would arrive from him. Simple words, never presumptuous. I dare say he thought it decent to remind me he still lived." Rosalie tilted her head slightly. "Do you still write to him?" "Oh, rarely. Once, perhaps twice a decade." Lady Greydown sniffled softly. Her heart was heavier than her tone would suggest. "The last time was when Henry died. Edgar sent his condolences. He said I had married well, and he hoped my life was peaceful. Can you imagine the audacity of a man to wish peace for the woman who ruined his own? Did he ever marry? Asked Rosalie, who knew only the bare bones of the story, but wanted to learn more. No, and that is what unsettles me so. The Viscountess dabbed her eye with a handkerchief and fully faced her niece. He was a wonderful man who deserved all the happiness in the world, yet it was denied to him because of me. Rosalie reached for her aunt's hand and gave it a light squeeze. Perhaps you're being too hard on yourself. Perhaps— No, I broke that man's heart. I know I did, Lady Greydown insisted. Do you think we might travel to see him, or is that a fool's errand? I may not survive the journey to Somerset, after all. Is it really so bad as that? Asked Rosalie. Oh, yes. I believe I have days, not weeks. Lady Greydown leaned back in her chair and folded her hands in her lap. I also believe I'm a bit embarrassed to let him see me in this diminished state. Though Edgar is such a kind man, I'm sure he would make me feel beautiful still. Such was his way. Somerset. Rosie squinted as she imagined the journey. As her aunt's companion, she would, of course, be expected to accompany her. Edgar has remained with the same family all these years, her aunt went on. He is Duke Alderley's steward. Now, that man is ancient. Seems a bit unfair that he should live to 90, while I will pass away at 55. She gave a small, disbelieving chuckle. I'm so sorry, Aunt, truly, said Rosalie. I wish I had some consoling words, but I fear they elude me at present. Oh, you needn't console me. We all know death is inevitable, no matter how young we are, said Lady Greydown. Even you, at the very young age of 30, must have thought of it once or twice. Rosalie chuckled and shook her head. She hardly felt very young, or even young at all. She was a spinster. In society's eyes, she might as well have been ancient. Do you think we might travel to Somerset? Her aunt asked. Or am I merely fooling myself? I can hardly make it up the stairs, much less halfway across England. We shall go, Rosalie declared, her firm tone allowing no room for wavering. Why shouldn't we go? If this is your dying wish, I aim to make it come true. Lady Greydown studied her niece, the earnest eyes, the stubborn chin, the unshakable gentleness, and at last she let her smile return. Heavens, Rosalie, between you and Henry and you, I never stood a chance against optimism. We'll see him, Rosalie declared again. I confess I'm quite curious to meet the man who nearly stole your heart. Oh, he stole it, Lady Greydown corrected her. Believe me, he did. However, I had the good sense to marry a viscount instead. They both went silent after that, retreating into their own thoughts as they imagined the journey ahead of them.